Salve Apex Wargaming Amiki. James here from JVC Paints. I've got a bolt action early war Danish army showcase for you guys. I've finished these guys up. These are from Great Escape Games. So I'm going to go through the units and everything individually in a moment. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I just got over 700 subs, which is great for me. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much to all of you. So in this video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some timestamps below so you can jump through the video. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the history. I've been inspired by some other YouTubers out there who do some history with their figures. And talk about each unit, of course, the army list that I've had to make, and just the reference and some critique of the figure. So let's start off. I'm going to start off, I guess, with a little bit of history. Then we're going to come back and take a look at some of the figures. On Tuesday, April 9th, 1940, the Germans break their non-aggression pact with the Danes and invade Denmark on their way to Norway. After about 2 hours, the Danish PM has decided to stop all resistance to the invaders, fear of Copenhagen being bombed like Warsaw had been bombed in September of the year before. Due to the difficulty, though, the communication problems within the Danish army, a lot of units went on fighting top 6 hours, but then it was over. Even though the Danes had been warned, they were pretty slow to mobilize, but they were on alert from 1:30 the afternoon before. They did their best against the Panzers and the Fallschirmjäger that dropped, but they were severely outmatched and just basically hammered into the ground. Casualties, they had 16 dead, 20 wounded, 10 civilians, and 3 wounded civilians. The Germans lost 2 or 3 guys and had about 25 to 30 wounded. As you can see from some of these photos, the Danes were really not exactly on top of getting mobilized. We got kids standing around an anti-tank gun here as the Germans are showing up, and here we go. We've got a school bus full of kids on that morning going to school. Nothing's going on. Oh geez, there's the Wehrmacht. So if you think your country's COVID response is pretty crummy, get a load of this. They're still sending kids to the school in the middle of a war. So there's always that silver lining out there, I guess. Back to the figures. I'm going to start off with the sections and the officers for the army. Bolt action, World War Games, they don't have any rules for these guys. So I had to sort of Frankenstein some rules. But I've based them on just the early war armies like France, Norway, the early war allied armies, I guess. So first up, we've got an officer here. I've made him a second lieutenant. He's got 2 guys. They're regular. No special rules for these guys. No submachine guns either. They come in at 70 points. Next to them, I've got a regular section. These would be the elite as a regular section. They're elite. They're the Royal Lifeguards, or I guess you'd say the Live Garden or Live Garden. They're a 10-man section. They've got an LMG here. They got an MCO here, and then the loader is back here. I've given them anti-tank grenades. They come in at 140. Next to them, I have an inexperienced squad. I've made them green. Just for shits and giggles. I don't want them to die like flies exactly, but I've given them an LMG. We've got the loader back there. We've got the MCO here. One of the figures, when he came in, he kind of had a little bit of extra, I don't know if it was casting or it was intentional, but there was enough there on the barrel. I thought, okay, I'll keep a VB launcher. So VB launcher, got a loader there for the VB launcher, and I gave them anti-tank grenades. Another inexperienced section here. We've got the NCO, we've got the machine gunner here. We've got a loader back there. We've got an extra loader too. They've given me double loaders, I guess. No, there's a loader back there. I think I've got 3 loaders in this one. 1, 2, 3. 3 guys are carrying ammo, so that's pretty cool. And they've got anti-tank grenades, and they're green as well. Let's take a look at some of the weapon teams and some of the bigger hardware for these guys. Let's take a look at some of the hardware for this army. It doesn't particularly have that much of a punch, but for an early war game, it's pretty good. We're going to start over here. I've got a MMG team, a 3-man team. I've made them inexperienced. Trying to stay with the theme of the army a little bit. On the Great Escape website, though, this is sold as an HMG. But for 35 points, I've made them an MMG. Next to them, we have a Bofors 37mm light anti-tank gun. I've made it regular, 50 points. In my typical gamey, beardy, cheesy way, I've put the guys on separate bases so I can keep them exactly an inch apart. in case some HE comes in, because it's pretty much the only anti-tank I have. I have a sniper team, regular, 50 points. You can see the Vallejo spray, the dull coat, it kind of picked up some of the sand or grit or whatever there, and it's kind of shiny, but oh well, too bad, I guess. Shogunai, as we say in Japanese. Here we have the Landswerk Panzerwagen, which is the armored car. This has been in a video of mine before. I've decided to make it regular, give it recce. It's armed with a coax MMG, a hull MMG, and it's got a rear hull MMG, and I've given it an autocannon here. Mr. Olafsson here, he is the marker for it being out of commission or disabled or on fire or exploded or whatever. He's just chilling out. He wanted a ride to the supermarket, I guess, or the market to go pick up some, or maybe the tobacconist to go get a newspaper or something like that. I've put it in at 115 points. I kind of based it on the Auto Belinda, the Italian Auto Belinda, only because it had the rear MMG. Yeah, I think 115 points for an armored car, it's okay, I guess. They mostly have recce at that point, this point in the game anyway, in the early war. Pardon me, stumbling over my words. Here we have a Madsen motorcycle with a 20mm autocannon. What I've decided to do for these guys is I'm going to make them, they're regular, I've given them recce. I put it in at 50 points, just a bit over the German MMG bike. But what will happen is, you can see these two guys in the back. That's the crew when they dismount to fire. So once they dismount to fire, they lose recce, obviously, and then they just become an autocannon team of 2 men, which is okay, because then they'll go down to small team. So it'll make them a little bit harder to hit. When they're on the bike, they're not. But when on their bike, they would be targeted by the weapons on the weapons chart if you wanted to do some damage, but otherwise they'd be dying on 4s here. And lastly, I've got a regular medium mortar with a spotter. So this is the hardware for the gang, and I'll take some shots of these guys, and then we'll get back to the main army, and I'll give you a critique and some painting tips. Flyby of the army. We've got the MMG, the bike autocannon, medium mortar, armored car, light anti-tank gun, sniper team, inexperienced section 10 men, inexperienced section 10 men, and a regular section of 10 guys, and the officer and 2 of his drinking pals. Total, there's 10 dice. It comes out to about 860 points. I've decided for the special rule for these guys, probably communication breakdown is probably the best. I was debating on whether to give myself communication breakdown every turn, but I think, that might be too much of a handicap. My friend Gio, he might be coming in from the city here next month, and hopefully we'll get a game in, so he'll bring his early war Fallschirmjäger. He'll probably have 1,000 points, and he'll probably totally kick my butt with them. As for the figures themselves, they're pretty good. This is sort of a critique time of the figures. They're from Great Escape Games. I've looked online recently. These figures themselves are on sale. A lot of the packs are down from, say, for example, 18 pounds to 16 pounds. So you can pick some of them up. I did enjoy the resin on that tank. One thing I would say, one kind of critique I would have, I got a couple critiques actually. I find that the rifles, the barrels of the rifles, you can see here, I found them to be really, really thin and really bendy. You can see in this one's all kind of warped and stuff like that. I didn't have any breaks, but I am very, very scared of them happening in the future. That's one thing. Another thing, I'm going to have to bring the officer out, because this officer, I don't know if it's just me or not, you can see that his right arm seems to be about scale-wise, would be probably about 4 or 5 inches too short. So he doesn't really scale up like a regular human, like he's got a gimpy little arm or whatever. So that's one thing. Compared to the Greeks that the Great Escape Games have done, they've got a different sculptor. It's pretty obvious. I found the Greeks a lot more chunky. I found these ones a little bit more fine. The details are pretty good. I find that the Great Escape, the details on the Great Escape figures are definitely getting better as they come out with more and more lines. They just came out with Bulgarians, and some of the earlier stuff, like maybe the Romanians, which I'm knee deep in now. Um, you can tell that there's a big difference. There's been a definite improvement with the sculpt. So you should definitely go check out their page. They got all kinds of weird stuff if you want to get away from the big five for World War II. What's up next for me? I've got some ancients that I've got a base, which you guys will be seeing. Of course, I have the Reichstag. I'm 2 or 3 units away from finishing another bolt action army, a mid-war army, the Romanians. They'll be coming up next for me. And that's it. Hopefully, battle report too. I haven't had a game since probably about February, so I'm kind of jonesing for that. Anyways, guys, thank you very, very much. I'll take one last photo. I'll put the end here of the whole army. And everybody have a great weekend. Keep those brushes moving, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.